The road of tall buildings runs through Chicago, which is why Chicago is such a special place to do an architecture river tour. My name is Super Dan. I'll be your super tour guide for the next 75 minutes. I have a Master's of Science in Real Estate from DePaul University's Business School. DePaul is a school a few blocks away here in downtown Chicago on our left-hand side. We're going to depart our dock now. There can never be a tallest building in the world in the United States ever again. The FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, maintains a 2,000 feet high building cap here in the US. All tallest buildings in the world for the last many years have been over 2,000 feet tall. The tallest building, curvy, reflective glass on the outside. See how the building has these silver horizontal lines that go from left to right? See how the Trump building gets more narrow and narrow to the top. There's setbacks or patios that make the building more narrow to the top. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai looks almost identical. The Burj Khalifa has the blue reflective glass that is curvy, the silver horizontal lines, and the setbacks toward the top. Think of Trump International Hotel and Tower as a mini. I'm pointing at it right now. The Tempietto means little temple in Italian. There's a famous little temple in Italy. You can see that this temple is modeled after. That's an office building from the 1920s. Why are Chicago architects using elements of Italian and European design to build office buildings in Chicago in the early 1920s? Well, there was a World's Fair held in Chicago in 1893. That was a really big deal. All of the buildings built for the World's Fair of 1893 were built in the European style, what architects call the neoclassical style. The neoclassical style remains dominant for office buildings from the year of the World's Fair, 1893, until the middle 1920s. To our far left, we have another neoclassical, European-driven style office building from the 1920s. So we're on Jewelers Building, 1926. For security reasons, the Jewelers Building was built with an interior car elevator. It was built to be a high-tech office building for jewelers. So for security reasons, the Jewelers Building was built with a car elevator. That way, jewelers could drive their car into the building with all their jewels into the car elevator onto the office floor plate and park the vehicle. The car elevator functioned from 1926 until 1941. In the 40s, the cars just got way too big to fit in the 1920s car elevator, and they took away the car elevator at the time. The car elevator was massive, building in US history in 1968. Got everything a resident would ever need inside. Let's cross the river and talk about the ugliest building along the Chicago River. I don't need to say the address, but I will. 55 West Wacker. That's enough about 55 West Wacker. Let's move on to 77 West Wacker, called postmodernism later on. See this red brick building here to our right? Reed Murdoch Building, 1914. This is what office buildings looked like in the 1880s, even though this is from 1914. The building is an example of the first. The building is an example of a style of architecture called Art Deco. Art Deco was a French style developed in Paris, France. After a World's Art Exhibition held in Paris in 1925, this style spread throughout the world, including May 2nd, 1900. For the first 100 years of Chicago history, anything and everything would flow into this river, which would flow into that lake where the city got its drinking water. City officials strongly suspected the river as being a source of cholera. City officials may have suspected that because Chicago's most famous nickname. Newest office building in Chicago, right here, to our front right, Salesforce Tower. I'm pointing at it right now. Salesforce Tower was completed last year. Salesforce Tower is an office building that houses employees of the Salesforce Software Corporation. Salesforce Tower probably is the last office building to be built in Chicago for a very, very long time, like decades. Green, the darker green is a reference to the darker, muddier water of the North Branch. The lighter green is a reference to the lighter, greener color of the South Branch. You can see the reflection of buildings all at Wolf Point on the outside of that building. The new view, and you're lost at river for many months. Come right here. This sign will help you get home. I'm a black building with a 2-wide antenna. At Sears Tower. We'll talk about Sears Tower when we get it. Address the elephant in the room. We've got Art Lamart right in front of us. Art Lamart is the largest permanent light display in the world. The City of Chicago produces a 2.5-acre audio visual show every night, including tonight, 9 o'clock at night, St. George and South Johnson Line. The city uses 34 projectors to produce this light show. The projectors are